had not started it in 3 days. It is about 30 something degrees out here, and it got down to about 13 degrees last night. So that is a cold start right there. And man, look at how smooth that thing runs. Alright guys, so y'all been asking for this video. Depending on when this video gets put out, these videos are not being put out the same week they're filmed. I actually am now making a whole bunch of videos and putting them in a schedule, so every Friday at 10 a.m. a new video will be coming out. So that's why it may be like it's freezing cold today, but when this video comes out, it might be a nice warm spring day. So, at the point in time that I did this video, cold starting this SA-200, it was super cold. As you see now, it's not running. I shut it off, and I always shut off my SA-200 by the fuel bowl. So when I first started it up, I went around outside to open the fuel bowl. Multiple reasons that if you own a machine like this that you'll want to do that. It doesn't have to be just the SA-200. A lot of the old big 40s, 30s, and 20s with this same setup had that fuel float bowl thing, and there's a reason you're going to want to shut it off. One, you want to drain the carb every single time, because I'm running ethanol gas that has a certain percentage of ethanol in it. So you want to make sure that that carb is drained, or mostly drained, so the ethanol doesn't stay in there and gum stuff up. And what'll happen is, if your float gets messed up or the needle gets stuck, that thing will sit there and just start dumping gas in there. Fortunately, it won't really make it into the engine. It'll just fill up, and it'll come out the oil bath filter long before it gets into the engine and into the engine oil. So that is a neat thing, but still, you want to shut it off every time. You want to, when you're done with the machine for the day, you may use the switch, like, okay, I'm going to lunch, click, shut it off, go to lunch, then come back. But at the end of the day, shut it off at the fuel bowl. It'll save your machine so much in the long run. Now, that's out of the way. Why SA-200? Why would someone in this day and age want to buy a SA-200? Especially when there are machines like the Bobcat, which are smaller, way more features, almost the same amount of amps. Champion Elite, cheaper, same amount, roughly same amount of amps, cheaper, new. And this is a muddy subject, so I'm going to try and clear it up. All right, I'm going to clear it up by this. You are looking for your first welding machine. You are just starting. Say you got about $4,000 for your first welding machine. This is probably not the machine for you. I would not say that you should be spending your hard-earned $4,000 on an SA-200 for your first machine. And there's a lot of reasons why. This is a very singular purpose-built machine. It's a great machine. I absolutely love it. Some of y'all who have followed me a while have said, you need to get an SA-200. And I was like, well, I don't know. I really don't want one, And now that I have one, I really like it. And I'm like, why didn't I get one sooner? But from an objective point of view here, this really isn't a good first machine. First, issue-wise, not a good first machine. There's no AC power output. It puts out, that little plug on the front of it is not AC. It's not 120 volts AC. It is 120 volts DC. It puts out 120 volts DC. Which, okay, most of your tools you'll use as a welder ain't that big a deal. Most of your circular saws and your angle grinders are fine. But when you may not, you're just starting out, only God knows what you have access to, right? So you don't want to fart with that. You don't want to, pennies are tight. You don't want to plug something into your SA-200 when pennies are tight and you're just starting out. And all of a sudden, poof, it catches on fire. Your hard-earned drill or something like that catches on fire. Now, I get around this with this rig, but I have a really good battery-powered drill set. As you've seen in the rig tour video, I have a really good battery-powered drill set and a lot of battery-powered tools that are charged off an inverter that runs off of the truck engine, which I will eventually set it up where that inverter there'll be a switch and the inverter can also run off of the SA-200. But that's modifications you have to do after you buy it. I paid $3,500 for this machine. It was worth every penny. It's in good shape. I paid a very fair price for it, but you can still get a Champion Elite that has 11,000 watts of AC power and is brand new, 5-year warranty for less than that. That would be the way to go with that kind of money instead of this. It doesn't have constant voltage for wire. However, there are ways around that. As we know, there are voltage sensing wire feeders like the LN25s and the Miller Suitcase series are voltage sensing, so they will run on constant current. What else? It's huge. It is huge. This is a big machine. All right. This is another one of its big disadvantages, and also its advantage is the fact it is huge. This thing is big. It is so big, the generator up here is sticking out the front of it. That's just how big these SA-200s are. The generator's huge. That's its disadvantage and its advantage. It's kind of this, it's two things about it. Its disadvantage is it's huge. It's heavy. It's 1,200 pounds. You have to have a 3/4 ton truck or a 1-ton truck to be hauling this around. It will crush your 1/2-ton truck. Like, this will never work on my F-150, and I abuse my F-150. It lives a couple thousand pounds over GVW, and it has a lot of tools on it. But I would not put this on a 1/2-ton truck. It's just not going to work. That's why Champion Elite, you may only have a 1/2-ton truck when you start. That's why Champion Elite or Bobcat or something along those lines is going to suit you much better when you start out. What are the pros of this machine? This is where it's all cool, all right? The pros. It's big and it looks cool. That's the big pro about this is it's big. And it screams, I'm a welder. I weld for a living. And I'm serious about it. And anyone who knows a little bit about welding knows exactly what this is. And when they see you show up with this, they know you are serious about what you do. Because this machine creates the best welding arc, the best stick welding arc money can buy. It welds like nothing you've ever used before. It makes every single welding machine you've ever welded with up to this point weld like, it makes you feel like you're welding with a battery charger. That's the only way I can put it. It's like, it's strange because this thing is so smooth, but yet it's got such a smooth arc, but yet such a stiff arc, and it just lays out the best beads. I took this on a job, and it made me look like a professional. It made me look like I belonged up there with the Instagram gods of welding. This thing is amazing. And my personal favorite thing about it is there are no transformers in this thing. There's no transformers, there's no inverters, there's nothing. It's literally generating your 300 amps of welding power in that big old round thing right there. And then you can see there's the welding leads coming up right there to your tap, right there to your rotor tap. I'll pull the camera down. I'll send it go over there. So it's generating 300 amps. They call it an SA-200, but it's actually a 300 amp machine. That's another one of its big benefits. 300 amps inside of this thing right here. And as I was talking to, this is the front of the generator right here. That way back there is the back of it. It's huge. The generator itself is the size of my Bobcat. And the reason it is because it is generating the high amp DC in here. See those looks like welding leads coming out of there? That's exactly what it is. It is generating high amp 300 amps of DC in here at the various brushes in here, going up here to your click tap dial here, and then out of here straight to your leads. How cool is that? There's almost nothing to break. There's nothing to go wrong in this thing. This is why this machine is older than the truck it's sitting on. and still works so freaking well to this day because there's like nothing to go wrong. It is super, super cool. And they're like, look, there's just nothing. It's just an engine hooked up to a giant DC generator and nothing in between. It is so cool. And that's the reason it welds so good. Because your Bobcats and your Trailblazers and your Rangers and all those small machines are creating high voltage 3-phase and then running it through a whole bunch of transformers, inverters, generators, and whatever. Go look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. Just does a whole bunch of stuff with it to convert it to high amp, low volt DC, which is what you need to weld. And because it does all of that to it, it kind of makes it not as smooth and clean. It still works. You can still get X-ray quality welds out of it, but it's not as easy. And of course, my other favorite thing about this is the 4-cylinder Continental engine. This engine there's so many parts for it. Unlike my Miller Blue Star 2E I had a long time ago, where it had that Takumish engine on it. When that Takumish goes out, there are no parts for it. There's nothing. It goes out, it's dead, it's done, throw it away. And there's no replacement for it. However, I can put a Kubota engine in here, a diesel Kubota if I want to in here, and there's several other engines that'll fit in here. Plus, I don't even need to do that because the Continental 163 in here, or actually I think it's a 162, whatever. It's basically the same thing. Somebody's going to yell at me for saying that, but yeah, roughly basically the same thing. This 4-cylinder flathead Continental, there are so many parts for it. I can get a new one to my door for less than, or a remand to my door for around $2,000. If this thing just explodes one day, and that's totally worth it to put a new engine in here. Unlike old, used, small engine drives, this is worth fixing. And another cool thing about it is, let's see, this radiator back here, it is a liquid-cooled motor. So it should do much better on hot days, and the motor should last much, much longer. So now the other big deal with this machine here is, so your Bobcats, your Champion Leafs, that series, and Rangers, the small series of machines, right? Your small or medium engine drives, whatever you want to call them. They are designed around what I would consider, they're designed around a 40-hour-a-week work schedule is what I would consider that they're designed around. They're meant to run 40 hours a week at the most, and that's it. Right? They're designed around a general construction and general repair schedule, which is perfectly fine. For most all of us, that's perfectly fine. Repair, general fabrication, construction, structural, you're doing 40 hours a week, whatever, that's perfectly fine. This machine is built around 70 hours a week. Basically just go, 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 and never shut off. In fact, I got some pipeline friends of mine, not pipeline, but pipe welder friends of mine, not necessarily just pipeline, but, big construction jobs. We're talking nuclear power plants and pharmaceutical plants and things like that, where they've had these SA-200s, literally they just run. The only time it gets shut off is to refuel it, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. And the same machine, running a day shift, running a night shift, it's literally, this machine is running 24 hours a day, and these machines just keep on going. That is what makes them so cool. And the price point of these, as of right now, as if inflation hasn't really gotten a hold of them, is you can get a good used SA-200 for around $3,500 to $4,000. The modern equivalent of this, to get a modern machine that is built around a 70-hour-a-week work schedule, you are going to be looking in the tens of thousands, probably closer to $20,000 for the modern equivalent of this machine. So it makes perfect sense that eventually, as your business grows, to try and invest in something like this. It doesn't have to be an SA-200. I just wanted an SA-200. In fact, I started with a Miller Big 40 that I couldn't get the work right and sold it and said, screw it. I want the SA-200 more than the Big 40 anyway. So I just sold the Big 40, what was mostly working of it, sold the Big 40, bit my pennies to go get this, And I'll say I'm much happier with the SA-200 than I ever would have been with the Big 40. However, along the same lines, you can get a Big 40 to do roughly what this does. It just welds different. You know, and there's not the romance with the Big 40 if there is with the SA-200s. You know, there's the big pipeline romance with the SA-200s and the 250s and so on and so forth versus the Big 40s. And some people will laugh at you for running around with a Big 40. But, yeah, you know, it's all 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? If you're looking for a machine that's a 70-hour-a-week machine, you got to go to this class here. And it really doesn't matter, red, blue, but me personally, I just like the SA-200. I like how simple it is. I like that the parts are everywhere for it. I like that, you know, there's parts for the engine, parts for the machine. There's so much support for these. And that was the big reason I got a 200 instead of a 250 or something, was there's so much support for the 200s versus the 250s. And the 200's a little smaller and a little lighter, and I plan on carrying my fifth wheel trailer on this truck, so anything to help drop a little bit of weight is gonna help out a lot. So that's why 200. And 200 is a little smaller. The advantage of the 250 is it has AC power output, but that's a story for another day and off topic according to this. So that is my Lincoln SA-200. I'm not setting it up well today because it is cold, and I've been out in this cold all day, and I am done. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and you guys have a fantastic day.